Déjame verificar a ver si el YouTube ya está. Ahí estamos, creo ya. Okay. Hey, welcome everyone to another Money on Chain streaming. My name is Luis, also known as Crypto Luis, and
Hey, welcome everyone to another Money on Chain.
Today we have our guest Juan Mayen. He is the regional director from Blink Wallet. I must say, one of my favorite Bitcoin wallets, and I should say is one of the most used in Central America and circular economies around the world. So welcome, Juan.
Thank you very much for having me, Crypto Luis. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So, for all our audience to know you, to get to know you, I would like you to make an introduction about yourself, and maybe tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So my name is Juan. I grew up in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. Got the blessing to go to college in the U.S., Arkansas, and Tennessee, and then came back to Honduras in 2019 and started working just on an idea on how can we make Bitcoin accessible to the people of Honduras. So we kind of tried on my personal note to just build an exchange, but that didn't quite work out. So I thought, what's the second biggest idea? And it was bringing Bitcoin ATMs. And so now we have Bitcoin ATMs in Honduras. But and now recently, I've been, I'm working with Blink now to just help us expand in our capacity in Central America and mostly in El Salvador.
So you started in this new charge at Blink, I could say 3 months ago, maybe now?
Yeah, almost in March, in June, sorry, January 22nd is when I started actually. So.
Okay, so I would like you to tell us how different is this experience of working in El Salvador, how different it is of your work in Honduras.
Sure. So, well, you have the great benefit, right, that in El Salvador, it's Bitcoin is legal tender. So, I mean, there's that barrier removed in a way of people you go around the streets, and since the Bitcoin law in 2021, people have started to become aware of what Bitcoin is and how it works, right? And then you have organizations like Me Premier Bitcoin who also know and educate people on what Bitcoin is, how to use it. And so, I mean, it's wonderful just to be able to be like-minded people that know what Bitcoin is and how to improve access to it. I think El Salvador has gone through this phase of taking it for granted almost. Just remember, before 2021, it was a bit hard to get Bitcoin here, right? There wasn't Chivo, there wasn't Blank, there wasn't Blank was in 2020, formerly known as Bitcoin Beach Wallet. But let's say before 2019, there wasn't easy ways to get Bitcoin, right? And people thought it was just a speculative asset. And Bitcoin has proven by now, even more with that Bitcoin ETFs from the US, to be more than a speculative asset. So it's the first reason too, why I brought the ATMs to Honduras back then, was that bringing access to Bitcoin and what Blink is doing here too, and soon in Central America, is bringing easy access for Bitcoin to be everyday used by individuals like you and me, whether you're buying coffee, whether you're buying your furniture, whether you're paying for your phone, your cable. This is becoming moving very fast here, especially this is the breeding ground. El Salvador is the breeding ground for all this, right? And you have the law backs up the businesses and enables them to build businesses on top of Bitcoin freely here. You couldn't really do that in any other countries of Central America as freely, right? You might still can, but you can't do it as freely as in El Salvador and with a great team here in El Salvador.
Yeah, I think that maybe the law has attracted all these persons from around the world who are developing these
Right.
projects here in El Salvador. Like you said, Mi Primer Bitcoin. Also, I can recall Bitcoin Berlin, whom we had them here as in guests in another stream, telling a little bit about their story, and it's very inspiring to see them. I wish that we could actually show them the Blink map onto the screen, but I think I must do it from my phone. But it's very funny how you could see all these orange dots
Yeah.
all spread out around the territory. And these are the places that are actually accepting Bitcoin under the Blink API or wallet. So, how
Yeah.
many of them does exist in El Salvador, if you could say?
I mean, I think we have over like 300 at least, at the very least. And we're, continuously onboarding new people. So,
And you have more in Central America. It's not only El Salvador. Well, actually, Central America and South America. I mean, if you start
if you
wandering
go
around,
down to Peru too, you'll see a lot of movement in Peru as well.
yeah. So I think we're gonna have to take some time to discuss each one of those countries to learn more about it, because it has widespread
Sure.
the usage around these countries, and it's very beautiful to see, because sometimes people, they underestimate Bitcoin adoption. They say it's
Yeah.
not being used by anyone, but there are these small communities around using wallets like Blink. So yeah, tell us about Honduras. Like, how's being a Bitcoiner there, and how does people use Bitcoin, or what they think about Bitcoin?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's the huge difference, right? Like, you hear people like Salvadorans talking about the happening, like normal Salvadorans talking about the happening, right? And in Honduras, like, there's not many normal people talking about the happening. You have, like, the Bitcoiners or the people who are into Bitcoin since the beginning that are aware of it. But over there, it's mostly like we need like a bigger effort, like we premier Bitcoin Honduras, right, to like help educate just the people, because I mean many people use it for trading, some using for currency, like to set payments. Some like very small, very few places use it for payments. Mostly they use it for trading, and then some people, of course, use it for as a store of value, right? And so the people are mostly doing it on like the sidelines, so like they don't do Bitcoin like full time like they do here, right? Like you have, like we have Bitcoin, Economia Bitcoin, like all these projects in Salvador, like working full time to help advance like Bitcoin, right? So like over there it happens, but mostly like at a part time, and then you have crazy people who are doing it full time. Um, you know, so there is some movement, but it's not as strong as here, like in El Salvador.
And can you say that regular people have seen El Salvador Bitcoin adoption with certain optimism for themselves, like they want to follow the steps from of El Salvador or something like that?
Yeah, so I think what's happening is very interesting. Is that you have people, because we have so many like shared families or like between or family members between El Salvador and Honduras. You have like people from El Salvador going to Honduras and telling their family members about Bitcoin. So they're starting to hear it not just from like the internet, just from a YouTube video, but from their family and friends from El Salvador, right? So that's bringing a huge like increase in the Bitcoin awareness and knowledge in Honduras. Apart from like traditional media that sometimes the newspapers will cover Bitcoin and cover Bitcoin companies in Honduras and abroad, then that's how people kind of get exposed to it. And sometimes the mainstream media, they flash big headlines, and sometimes those headlines can cause misinformation, right? So I think we're just going to see it continually keep evolving from people from El Salvador, like traveling to other countries like in Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and going there and be like, hey, you guys don't accept Bitcoin? Like we accept Bitcoin, like we use Bitcoin. So I think that's gonna cause like a flywheel effect. That the Salvadorian people are gonna start like teaching others and then teaching their friends and family from these places because Bitcoin is a great asset. It's an uncensorable asset. No one can kind of take it away from you unless from like the traditional means, right? But like it's uncensorable. So I think if we start moving towards a CBDC, for example, more people are gonna start becoming aware of Bitcoin and its uncensorable capabilities.
Yeah, and speaking about that, one of the features I love about Blink is the stable sats
Yeah.
function. Like is a pretty clever way to bring stability and to the while still using Bitcoin. I mean, it's like you're using a dollar, but it's still Bitcoin, so you still can send it over the Lightning Network and without leaving the Bitcoin standard. So it's been very useful. Um, a pretty smart solution for that matter. How's inflation in Honduras?
It's regular. It's about 3-5% annually, so it's not that bad. Which has been an issue because people don't see the need for Bitcoin per se. But StableSats is an awesome product. I mean, like I used to be onboarding businesses before StableSats, and it was a challenge because of the volatility, right? But now businesses anywhere in El Salvador, or for that matter, like anywhere where you can have Blink, you can accept Bitcoin payments and StableSats, right? And you don't have to worry about the volatility. If you take in $100, they'll keep $100, and like it's a big product. And I think many of like the merchants, like maybe here some in El Salvador, but also like anywhere else in the region, haven't come to see its full potential, right? That you can start accepting payments from anywhere, like if any tourist, any person, like if I go to Honduras with my Bitcoin, like I can pay you, and like you'll have your value in like a stable way. And so like that's a big game changer. That's I think it's taking the region some time to digest because they're not used to it, right?
Yeah, I will say that if Honduras has a 3% inflation annually, it's even less than the dollar that
Well,
used to have
yeah, well,
5 to 8%.
it's in lempiras, and so remember, like the lempiras like devalue up from the dollar, so it's 3 to 5 in lempiras, and so it's like the lempira does get devalued in somewhat compared to the dollar. So
Yeah, it's like you still have to add the dollar inflation to that national currency inflation.
right, yeah,
Hmm,
100%.
interesting. Regarding El Salvador, we have seen like many merchants and users have been using Blink, and I can recall people like Cherito Cafe, um, and the people at the BTC markets, the BTC Farmers Market, which is organized once or two a month in El Sonte, and people go there to sell their stuff, mostly organic products,
Right.
and most of them they use Blink.
Yeah.
So I was remembering that on November 8th, or during these days of adopting Bitcoin conference, you guys announced a partnership with Distribuidora Morazán,
Hmm.
which is one of the biggest household products distributors in the region, not only El Salvador, but Central America in general. So
Right.
I wanted to have an update on that because it was very important at the time what we heard
Right.
about it.
Yeah. So I mean, it is getting some traction. there is a like educating component of teaching the employees and staff how to like accept and receive Bitcoin payments, but also like the accounting, right? So like that's a big piece of onboarding in business, any formal business, is that you have to also train accountants and internally the staff um, on like what's this going to look like, right? Because all the math has to add up. So, but I mean, it is getting some traction. Like the wholesalers are getting paid in Bitcoin, and then like the small tiendas are paying in Bitcoin to the wholesalers, right? Um, and so it is getting some traction, but it's going to take a little bit of basically building that habit of accepting Bitcoin, getting used to the terminology, getting used to like, I mean, once you understand it, it's pretty easy. But not only does the driver have to understand Bitcoin, like the person who drives the truck to deliver the products, right? It's also like the accounting and all the back office has to understand how to properly account for it as well. So it's like when you onboard an organization like this big, you have a big kind of education task upon ourselves to do that.
Yeah, of course. We're talking about like 40,000 merchants to onboard
Yeah,
onto this initiative. So you have to educate each one of them.
yeah. I mean, not only the merchants, but like right the sellers, right? The people who go and deliver the products to the drivers.
So yeah, it's an ongoing process and it's gonna take some time, but still El Salvador is going quickly into Bitcoin adoption. I heard the other day, like, and I was talking about this with a friend that uh, some university, they ran a study and they said like 12% of the population in El Salvador used Bitcoin at least once in during 2023. And my friend tells me, oh, they are framing this like it's a failure or something, but for me it's pretty big that an almost 7 million inhabitants country, like 12% of it used Bitcoin
Yeah,
once in a year. It's like it's pretty big actually.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So it's like we must kind of feel proud about it, about this effort. Sometimes we feel that we are not too many carrying these efforts, but I think that is becoming like a snowball progressively, and more people are onboarding to the Bitcoin adoption here.
Right. So I feel like it's gonna be like that, just like the saying goes, right? Gradually, then suddenly, you're going to see. But this gradually has been working since 2021, right? And so then before we know it, it's gonna be like, bam, everybody knows Bitcoin, how to manage it. But it didn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah, but definitely El Salvador is attracting the right people to come and live here and carry this effort
Yeah.
beyond the law and all the conditions that, as a country, it has been offering to all of us who decided to have to live here, to establish here. So it's a slow process, but I think we're going faster than we initially thought. Sometimes this dream seems to be so big that you
Yeah.
can get like intimidated by it or kind of frustrated along the way, but we're going quick. And Central America is becoming an epicenter of all of this. I want you to discuss about Costa Rica and Guatemala. I understand there are some pretty big Bitcoin hubs in there and Bitcoin communities and circular economies as well.
Right. So in Guatemala, you have Lake Atitlan, right? People are also using our wallet, and then in Costa Rica, so you have in Costa Rica, you have like we actually encourages you can so all of the code for Blink, right, is open source. So that means anyone can fork it from GitHub and add or modify features to it, which is a big thing, right? And so in Costa Rica, you have this group who forked it and created basically Bitcoin Jungle. And so Bitcoin Jungle, it's basically a fork of Blink basically, and they have like features to be able to buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin with Costa Rican colones. So you have those places in Uvita, Costa Rica, using like that technology basically developed by Galoy, which is the parent company of Blink.
What kind of commercial activities is happening there in Costa Rica and Guatemala?
So, I mean, just mostly like in Costa Rica, mostly like farmers markets, right? Like similar to here. But in Guatemala, I'd have to dive more into the data there because we're not getting many users from there. But we have some, but I wouldn't be able to tell you the details right now about more in depth about Guatemala.
So,
Sorry.
so right now we can move into Peru, maybe to discuss Peru. I know that Blink's team visited in Peru last year, and they came pretty excited about it. So what's going on in Peru?
Well, in Peru, right, you have Motiv, this organization that's helping onboard people, families, like tons of families, I think over 400 families, onto Bitcoin, and using it as their daily driver for paying for food, paying for like just normal things you may need of. And so Motiv is helping them onboard it into our wallet, into Blink, using Blink for the daily driver, like which is what we want Blink to be, right? Is the daily driver wallet for your everyday payments. So over
It's
400
becoming,
families is a lot.
wow, 400 families.
Over 400 families, yeah.
Wow. And they managed to use Bitcoin after they received donations or something like
Yeah.
they.
So as far as I'm aware, they basically distribute the Bitcoin to the people, and so they do that through Lightning. And I don't know if you have checked out, but with Blink now you have the latest. We have batch payments, so you can send Bitcoin like in a batch payment through other Blink users, right? So if you have 100 Blink users, you just upload this CSV to. We have a dashboard where you can sign into now. Yeah, it's called dashboard.blink.sv, and you sign into it, and we give you a template where you can download the CSV template, and then you can modify. So you can, and once you upload it, you can send like Bitcoin to 100 people, right? 50 people at once, instead of having to like manually go one by one. So that's been a very requested feature.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I was just reading the blog post you did about this new feature of batch payments. So basically, you can send the Bitcoin to many users at the same time, right?
Yep, which is awesome. I tested it, and it's wonderful. You should try it.
Yeah, so what it says here is like you have to identify the Blink username of the recipient, then
Mhm.
set the amount, the type of currency you want to send, could be USD on stable sats or sats, or um, which one of your wallets you want to send funds from, and then you can add a message. These are being popular right now. Um, so you have different use cases: payroll.
Yep.
Uh,
I mean, if you have like, it can be anywhere from payroll to like, you know, um, just if you have a community too, and you want to give them Bitcoin like rather easily, or onboarding people, like onboarding a bunch of people at the same time.
it's definitely a good way to distribute funds. And what I love about this is like this
Really,
feature is used to be on more complex to or difficult to use wallets, but Blink is pretty easy to use
Yeah.
actually. So you don't have to expect this application to be complicated to do these sort of things. Well, that's awesome, Juan. What's up next with Blink beyond batch payments?
Well, right now we're really focusing on El Salvador, right? So you want to help expand that businesses and merchants in El Salvador can just like start using Blink to cash out. Like if a business needs a cash in their bank account, they can do that through Blink now. So Blink, you have cash in and cash out enabled through the wallet. You can buy at 0% fee, and you can also sell at 2% fee. It's currently 2% for the sell, and basically you just send the Bitcoin to us, and then we deposit back to your bank account. Pretty easy. So we want to get like as many merchants as possible, but also big merchants like maybe Walmart and stuff. And so we just want to grow that here, because then imagine a place where you come with your Bitcoin and you can go to your grocery stores and pay with Bitcoin. You can like pay with your coffee with the Bitcoin. You can pay for the tiendas, like, right? That's a big use case. I don't think sometimes, depending on the profile of the tourist, right? But most, like, you and I go to the tienda maybe like 3 or 5 times a week, right? Because we get a soda or a chip or like chips, or any small stuff that you may need at home. You go to the tienda, and so we want to onboard as many businesses as possible, and also communicate to them that you can cash out to your bank. But most people are like, really? Like, I think it's like they don't kind of believe it, right? That we kind of offer that service with Bitcoin like seamlessly. So we just want to onboard like all of the businesses. A lot of work here to do in El Salvador and grow that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you also. I just remember that you have this feature that allows you to sell Bitcoin for fiat directly to a bank account. How's that going?
It's going well. I mean, we're getting usage, a lot of usage, so it's going well. I think just more people have to become aware of it. So if you haven't become aware of it, you can buy and sell Bitcoin if you're a level two, right? So in El Salvador, and you don't like, right? You can, like, for example, you come from, if you're a resident like yourself, if you have a Salvadoran bank account, like, you can sell Bitcoin for cash, right? So anyone with the Salvadoran bank account that does the KYC inside the app, you can get cash. You can get cash into your bank account.
Well, that's awesome. There's been other applications basically doing that in El Salvador lately, and it's been a very useful feature for some because some persons might find problems with other applications, which I'm not going to name here to not speak badly about them. But yeah, they basically found some kind of friction or with the KYC process and rules, and they got their bank account blocked or they can't use their wallets, and that kind of things happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of odd, right? That you still have bank accounts being frozen for using Bitcoin in El Salvador when it's legal tender, right? So again, that's part of like just changing the whole modus operandi of things, right? Of people like making Bitcoin like a normal thing, right? Like, that's going to take time, and it definitely wasn't going to happen overnight, and it still takes time. Like, who knows? We might be 3 to 4 years out from it becoming normal, but the fact that it is becoming normal, like, is huge. And hopefully we will never forget that. Hey, this new coin, Bitcoin, is like enabling us to have like financial sovereignty and uncensorable money and like all this. And so I think most of the people like don't start thinking about this until they start thinking like, what is money, and then once they start thinking about what is money, then Bitcoin presents itself as like, oh yeah, I definitely want to use this and need this. And I think that's like the huge gap is that, when like new technologies came out, or like, for example, when like the social network came out, right, like Facebook and stuff, at the beginning only like young people, college students had it, and now they're like almost anyone has Facebook, right? And now actually it's going through a phase, at least in my circle of friends, where they stopped using Facebook or deleted Facebook. So like in my personal, like I deactivated Facebook in 2017. I had to create one afterwards, but for like marketplace stuff, because in Latin America, in case those don't know, like you can find stuff on marketplace on Facebook on pretty good deals, right? Um, but it takes time, right? Is where I'm going at, and it's important that people know that it's transferable money. There's only going to be a limited amount of 21 million, and in about 20 days, it's going to have the supply it's going to have on April 20th, so in about 24 days. And so there's going to be less Bitcoin available. And then you're going to have demand just keep going up while the supply is going to be reduced. And then you have these big players like the Bitcoin ETFs in the USA who are just going to absorb and start buying a ton of this Bitcoin. And then, those just simple economics tells us that if you hold demand, if the supply is being held steady or decreased, and the demand is being held steady or increases, it's going to increase the price. I mean, that's just like basic economics, right? It's not like selling like snake oil. It's just like if the supply is going to decrease and the demand is going to go up, the price is going to shoot up by law, basically. And so it's important that people know this today, 24 days before the happening, so that they can stack up today before it's too late. Or like, the president tweeted, we're going to keep buying Bitcoin until it becomes unaffordable with fiat currencies. Like that's going to happen. And he's just tweeting that out to the world. Like, hey, I'm telling you in 2023, this is going to happen. And then,
yeah, it's so weird to think about like what happens is the demand just don't stop increasing and they just buy like crazy. um, I don't know what's going to happen in the circular economies and small markets, like people like us who use Bitcoin every day. We have to. Well, we're just gonna start sending even smaller amounts of Sats to
Satoshi,
do normal payments. Like you say, going to La Tienda and buying a soda is gonna cost you 1 Sat. Maybe the
right?
Lightning Network fee is
That's
gonna
where we're
be,
going to.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a 5 Satoshis payment, and it's gonna worth, a couple sodas and a chip, and it's gonna be like $5 today, which will go like how much is $5 in Sats today? Like 2,000 Sats or one?
It's a bit more. Let me look up the specific amount. It's about like
But yeah,
2,500 cents. So $5 is 7,125 cents right
yeah.
now.
So basically, in the future, that's gonna be equivalent to 5 Sats or 10 Sats. I don't know.
Right.
Uh, and it's crazy to think that because it's becoming more and more an store of value.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So
is. But at the same time, that's why like Blink and stable sets, you can have both, right? You could have Bitcoin who's volatile to the price of Bitcoin, and you can have stable sats because we just want to encourage people to use it like daily, right? Like if you want to store like big amounts of Bitcoin, it's always recommended to store it like in a non-custodial solution, right? Like in your hardware wallet. But if you want to like use sats for every day, then you need an application like Blink to be able to make those everyday payments. And so, yeah,
well, I love to have many more years of life
yeah,
and live here in El Salvador to see what happens. I don't want those two visions get in conflict. The store of value for rich people and investors and ETF,
Right.
and the medium of exchange, medium of payment for small merchants here in El Salvador. Because in the end, and one of the things I think we are Blink is aligned in this mission is to bring the Bitcoin features and capabilities to individuals and small users that they have been marginalized and excluded historically for decades. So I believe that our people also deserve to enjoy maybe the privilege of using Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I mean that's why it's like a bottom up approach, right? We want like the everyday people, the everyday person to start using, Bitcoin as a form of payment. And I think without Lightning, that would have been pretty difficult. But we have Lightning now, and like our the nodes, Blink nodes work, and we have a status page where anyone can go check on the status page of Blink. Like you don't have to work for Blink to know whether the app is down or not or up. We have a Blink status page where you can go check if the application is up. So
Yeah,
it's
can you please send it to me so we can show it up
yeah,
to our
I'll send
audience?
it to you right now. I just sent it. It's blink.statuspage.io. So this is public information, and you can see, what incidents we've had or haven't had. And I mean, it has the best uptime. Like, right, Blink has had the best uptime. Like the other day, I was talking to the co-founder of Blink, Nicholas, and I was showing him this wallet, this other Bitcoin wallet. That I opened it, and it said, "Sorry, the app is down. Please come again later." And I mean, that's not happening with Blink, at least, hopefully anytime soon or ever. But it's operational like 99.9% of the time.
So this is incredible. This follows basically the open source ethics.
Yeah,
You know
I mean,
what's happening with the technology that you are using, what is its state, and how it's working and functioning. 24
yeah.
hours, 7 days a week, in a
There's also a
completely
Mattermost.
transparent way.
So people can also provide their feedback via Mattermost as well. So if you go to like galloy.io, and yeah, I'm gonna send this to you too. Like it's open for anyone to go in there and provide feedback. Like our aim is to build a better product, right? The best Bitcoin wallet in the world, right? And so people's feedback is welcomed. Like it's not like I feel like sometimes in Latin America there is this culture of like don't speak back to like the provider, or like if you're like in an authority position over you, don't speak back to them because you can get in trouble. But in open source, that's really not the case. You want to hear customer feedback so you can build a better product. And that is like a core value, I would say, of Blink, right? Being open source and being able to take feedback and improve the product so that people can use it so it works.
It definitely works. So I know that the Blink API is completely open source. I mean, Galloy has been providing it since basically the beginning, so anyone can run their own instance of the wallet, right? And their tools in general.
Yeah, so you can integrate to the API. Yeah, you can use the API for whatever like idea you may have. Anything that's within the matter of law, right?
Of course. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think that this accelerate the Bitcoin adoption and the Bitcoin users, allowing people to test the tools that are available, and see how they can modify it or adapt it to their local context and necessities.
Yeah. So if you have an idea of you have a friend developer you can hire. You can use the API to like integrate it into your own app or whatever use case you think of.
Pretty good to know. Um, there are a few events coming in El Salvador for the halving. We have meetups, my first Bitcoin graduations. We have the halving
Are you
party.
going to the, are you going to the graduation of Imperial Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going
I was
to,
thinking about it. Thinking
take
about it.
some pictures. Yeah, you
Now that you go, I
definitely
might
to
go.
go. It's been a while I don't go to one of these graduations, but it's a pretty beautiful experience to see,
Did you go
the
to a
little.
taco?
Yeah, I think a few times.
Wow. Okay, I went to a taco as well, so maybe we would have rode in that bus.
Yeah, I think that they had one in 2022. I remember in November it was in Ataco, and all the
Yeah.
influencers and were there too.
Well, if I recall correctly, the Secretary of State, the Department of the Treasury, the Secretary of Treasury from South Carolina was in that one in the taco.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Pretty important people have visited those graduations, and I encourage everyone to go because, like I said, it's pretty beautiful to see, these young men and women to hold their diploma, and it's a pretty big achievement to complete a full diploma at that age.
Right.
Just graduating out of high school and being able to use Bitcoin and learn and know what it's all about. Not using a wallet, because maybe just using a wallet is the easiest part,
Mhm. Yeah.
but
It's understanding
knowing
all
how
the technology
to
behind
back
it.
it up and why Bitcoin is scarce and has a limited issuances, and what type of freedom can provide to you is pretty good knowledge to have at 17, 8 years old for
Yeah.
anyone.
And hopefully those people will be able to teach other people, right? And then like not only for El Salvador but the whole region, right? And they're young
Yeah.
too, so like yeah,
Yeah, of course. There's been a couple cases of students that graduated with my first Bitcoin, and they ended up being teachers themselves.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
So I think it's
so
like these
mhm.
types of efforts of people just getting this education that's going to compound like the knowledge and compound the rate of people learning about it in the region, right? I think that's what's going to make El Salvador so special is that they can handle this information and they can share it.
Yeah, all these efforts need to be compounded. I mean, if all of these students, maybe they're gonna plant that same seed at their homes with their family, among their communities, their friends, or their workplaces, or whatever they are in life. Yeah, they are gonna be able to teach others about Bitcoin and maybe inspiring others to carry on and jumping into this movement. So, what's Blink going to do during these following weeks before the halving? Is any meetup or any event happening, or you're gonna support one of these events we named before?
So well, the Economia Bitcoin, right? That's going to be a big event. We're going to be there. So everybody come to Berlin,
Mhm.
Usulután, El Salvador, not Berlin, Germany. Berlin, Usulután, El Salvador,
Yeah, we
because
know them well.
well, because many people who don't know that this Berlin in El Salvador is starting to become famous, right? Because of the Bitcoin, they have Starlink now, they have Wi-Fi, and you have over 100 businesses accepting Bitcoin payments. That's wonderful. Like we want, right? I want personally every like neighborhood town in Central America to become like that, right? Um, and then so we are also going to have we don't have to set date yet, but something called Blink Night. So we want to gather feedback from merchants. So voy a decir esta parte en español también un poco para los comercios, for the merchants que nos estén viendo, que nos estén escuchando, that are listening to us or hearing to this right now. Come to the Blink Nights. Vengan a Blink Night. Queremos escuchar su retroalimentación. We want to hear your feedback on just how we can improve Blink for merchants, for business owners. So please come to that. It's gonna be sometime in April. It's either gonna be the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday of April at the Bitcoin Embassy El Salvador. So please, merchant owners, dueños de comercios, por favor vengan. Queremos escuchar su retroalimentación. We want to hear your feedback. So just a little shout out there.
So you heard about it. Go to the Economia Bitcoin in Berlin. We have them there. We have Evelyn and Gerardo telling their story to us about their efforts they're carrying in Berlin. Usulután is a beautiful town there. I like better the weather in Berlin than here in San Salvador. Right now it's too hot for me. The summer already began.
Here in San Salvador is too hot, not Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin is better for climate matters. But yeah. Economia Bitcoin is happening, I believe, on the 6th.
It's the 8th, April 8th.
The 8th.
Yes.
April
so I'll be
8th.
leaving Sunday. It's a Monday, so I'll be leaving Sunday. Get there Monday, probably spend Tuesday as well. So el 8 de abril, April 8th, is available for people to come to Economia Bitcoin.
Awesome. So there you have it. Well, it's time to wrap this up. Juan, thank you for being with us. It's been very great to hear about all the efforts Blink is doing in Central America, and we hope to hear more about other countries and of what Blink is doing in there.
No, Luis, thank you so much for the space, man. I appreciate it a whole ton. And if people need to contact me, feel free. My email is Juan Mayen, that's spelled Amayen, at blink.sv. So if you have comments, if you're a business and you want to accept Bitcoin in your business, or if you're a big business want to accept, please email me, Juan Mayen at blink.sv. And I'm here, to serve and help grow this Bitcoin adoption. And thank you for doing this. And I'm glad that you are able to have spaces like this. We need more spaces like this where people can come and share this knowledge with other people. So thank you so much for hosting, Luis.
Thank you. You always be welcome. And remember to follow Juan on Twitter. We're going to be sharing his username on our Twitter account as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of these spaces discussing Bitcoin with great builders and great persons in the space. Follow us on Twitter as well. This is Money on Chain, the DeFi protocol for Bitcoiners. And this is Crypto Luis. It was nice to see you, Juan, and all our public. Thank you for being with us today.
All right.
See you. Bye.